just talk about your time.
Uh, I could go high to low.
So, what is going on, guys? It is Sharp Segments, another special episode. I'm your host, Nico Sharp, and I'm here alongside special guest Morris Austin, who is currently a cannonballer over at spring training right now. He is there live, just got done today of another day in spring training. Morris, you have a really fun story. I definitely want to dive into it, talk about, how is spring training going. But first, I want to let's rewind it a little bit. For the people who may not know, you didn't start off as a pitcher. You were a catcher in high school, didn't pitch much. So tell me about, the high school to college transition from a catcher to a pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta talk to the lefty himself right here. This is the best pitcher I've ever caught. So,
Thank you.
saying that, I mean, the transition was different. It was odd, not being used to just being on one position at all times is just like kind of weird. Because I was catching an outfielder in college and then in high school too, and you know, it's a cool transition to have under my belt now. Now that I know what I know, but at the same time, it's nothing I take for granted in my journey. So it's been weird.
So what kind of caused that? You were a
Yeah.
great catcher, always had a great arm, and then you had a little bit of time in the outfield. And what kind of conversations took place for you to end up on the mound?
Yeah, it was almost essentially a release in junior college. My junior college I was signed to out of high school said there was not room for me catching and moved my butt to the outfield, and I hit some home runs here and there and just struck out a bunch, couldn't keep that average. And so, that really kind of folded me right there as a hitter, was the average part. And so they're like, why don't you hop up on the mound and, touching some low nines here and there in junior college gets you a look at the mound. And so doing that just kind of opened my eyes to an opportunity. And after I got released from that first junior college, another junior college picked me up and as a pitcher. And then I also caught and hit a little bit for them there in the season somewhat, but pitch mainly as my freshman year. And, it just kind of progressed from there. Just the snowball tumbled down the hill and got better at things and had a few lessons here and there from other people trying to teach me how to pitch. And so it's been fun.
So you always had the great arm, right? We
Yeah.
talked about it, catcher. I mean, I got to throw to you a lot. You're a guy who I can always trust. You're going to throw a guy. You had the arm for it, had the footwork.
Yeah.
But even with that good arm, we kind of spoke about it, off camera that there was a velo jump from just high school, college, and then now where you are on the mound. Is
Yeah.
there, a specific training that you did? Is it kind of just growing into that college athlete, or what kind of think sparked that? I mean, a solid velo jump.
Yeah. Just the ability to throw hard is God given in itself. It's something that I didn't do. I mean, I prepared my body as well as I could to do that. And as a catcher, I took pride in throwing guys out, and so always long tossing was a big thing for me. And so having that, and then back in college, it was working mechanically as a pitcher. You have to translate ground force from your legs and then to your arm. It's not all just arm. Arm helps out a lot. However, that's how injuries happen if you use all arm. And so that's what I soon became to realize if you don't use your legs 100% of the time, you're going to get hurt. So,
And you kind of touched on it a little bit
yeah,
with velo jump causes a little bit of arm issues, and as many pitchers that maybe watch this know. I mean, when you have that velo jump, something about your UCL and there's different causes. You were a guy who did have Tommy John surgery, and so what was that recovery like? What were you told? How did that all come about? What were the conversations like? Was it ever a surgery, rehab type ideal, or what were the conversations when you first? And how did you injure it to start off with?
yeah, I was throwing pretty hard. I made probably a 5 mile an hour jump. I was sitting from 93 to 95 to sitting 6 to 9, and when you do that, it's gonna come with some weird things. And so having that velo jump, um, it was a few games that it hurt a lot, really bad. We were at home at UTSA, I walked 3 guys in a row. My arm was on fire. I was still throwing hard. And it was after an outing. I was topping 99. And so, just things here and there, it just is like, okay, that's not a good sign. And then we got to Michigan State the next week. And sure enough, one pitch on a doubleheader in the seventh inning and a tie game just does it for you. It was 96 in the dirt. And then next pitch, 96 pop. And then I was like, uh-oh. And I threw 2 pitches consecutively after that at 89, right down the middle to put a 3-2 count. And I was like, I hurt. It hurts. And so my coach pulled me eventually. But after that, the process was really quick. I got an MRI as soon as I got back, talked to several doctors in the Houston region, which was really cool. I had Lance Berkman as my head coach. And so he got me in with his surgeon. And so we put that together, pieced it together that I needed a full reconstruction. It was a full tear on my distal side of my UCL. I had the palmaris graft, so you got the 2 marks. You can kind of see that one. That one's kind of gone. And so got the nice little small scar going. It's not too bad. And so it was 11 months, 2 weeks recovery. I worked my butt off to try to get back for the team, as you can. And I felt like I let the team down, honestly. That was the biggest thing. I felt like I let everybody else down that season because I was hurt and I didn't do my job of staying healthy. And so, biggest thing was just getting back the ball. That was my main goal.
Yeah, you can't do much when you have that kind of injury. That's going to happen. And the rehab is a long process. But yeah, touching on having Lance Berkman as your coach. One of the Astros Hall of Famer. One of a legend in the sport. What was that like? Kind of going in. Correct me if I'm wrong. He was a guy who came in while you were there, or had you had just gotten there? What was the timing like in that coaching transition?
Yeah, I played 1 year under Jared Moon for HCU, or it was HBU at the time.
Right,
And
right,
then
right.
during Berkman's transition, it changed to HCU. And so I had played 1 year under the program. We were all right. It just long time of not winning seasons kind of gets you somewhere. And then Berkman came in and it kind of stayed the same, but it was under him was great. He was a great coach. He brought in a tremendous staff that I personally say that changed my career in pitching, and just the knowledge of baseball was unbelievable. So having that was a huge factor in my career.
Yeah, and to jump right into it, you were a guy who started as a catcher going into college, and then it transitioned to an outfielder, and then you turned into a guy who stood there on draft night, waiting to hear your name. Talk about all the emotions that brought along with it, and how the draft night went.
Yeah, I mean, draft was crazy. I remember sitting in Portland, Oregon for the Portland Pickles. I'm sitting there with a bunch of my teammates the few days before, and I was like, I don't know what this process is going to be like because I've been getting calls from teams, and I have to fill out this form and this form to see if they if they even like me in the first place. And so, um, sitting there on draft night, my dad got down there, and so sitting there with him and the host dad I was staying with, and it was a really cool feeling because I thought I was going to go 10th round for the Angels or the Cardinals, and they didn't call my name in that round. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going tomorrow for the draft. And then the Brewers called me late round, 10th round. And I was like, I'll take it. Like, that's a dream come true. I I remember sitting on the ground in my host dad's like house, and I was like, wow, like this God made my path straight. Like he opened that light to where my career should go, and it was really cool to see that.
Yeah, a dream got to come true there, and now you're sitting there, and not even your first spring training. You're a guy who's now been there before. You've had your time. So, what was that first spring training like going into that first now professional season? And how much have you felt like you learned going from that first season going to where you are now?
Yeah, taking that first spring training was a cool thing. It got me a lot of perspective on how I should be as a professional baseball player. That's one thing that they preach out here is being a professional. And so taking away some things from veterans or some rookie players that are around me, And so just having just everybody's knowledge around me was really cool to see. And then now taking that for this spring training is the same kind of mentality of like, I'm here to do a job. It's nothing personal. It's all business over here. And so just got to take it as a professional and do my job and go from there.
Yeah, being a professional now, you started off in the Milwaukee Brewers organization. Now you are a Cannonballer, which is a single A affiliate for the Chicago White Sox. And you were a guy who went from school to school, going the JUCO route, and then going to HBU or HCU. What was the transition like going from organization to organization now in the professional world?
Yeah, going to organization to organization, I don't think hurts hurts a person that bad. It's it's again, it's a business, and so things change, and you know, it's cool to see what they have in different organizations. So
Yeah, there's so many different things that go on, and something that most people don't get drafted, don't get signed, and don't get to live the life that you are. Can you and shed a little bit of light of what kind of goes, what looks when it's off season, now you're going to spring training? What does that look like? We have an idea of you get your arm warm again and the basic ideas, but from your eyes, what has taken place in during these spring trainings?
yeah, just getting your work in, preparing yourself for the season is important, and you can show your stuff and show where you're supposed to be in the organization, and some of these games or backfield games. Spring training is a cool little insight to the high life, because you get all this attention from a lot of people coming around the world to come watch these big leaguers, and sometimes they come sneak on the backfield and you're there, and so it's kind of cool to be around those people and have that experience. And being a minor leaguer is really cool too. It's just the experience around it. The benefits, of course, is great, but also just being in that spotlight is cool.
Yeah, you're definitely in the spotlight, and let's talk a little bit. Let's dig a little bit deeper into to pitching a little bit. And again, what are people are coming to see is you on the mound. So I want to talk a little bit about pitch arsenal with you, and so kind of talk pitch grips. Is that something you just found comfortable? Is that something you learned from a coach? So kind of just break down what your arsenal is. And I know you got a baseball on you, so if you can work pitch grips, tell me kind of what your mentality is on your different pitch styles.
Yeah, few pitches I've gotten here and there. Fastball I've always had, just the basic old four seam fastball. The stitching on my right side, so if I'm throwing that ball, that the stitching is on the right side. So it's nice and easy. Gives me that good ride. I have that high arm slot, so that's what I'm looking for is that vert. And then I got a cutter I recently pulled out, which was from a pitching coach I had, which was Andy Pettit. So
You guys
really
may have
cool
heard
guy,
that name. For
really
you
cool
guys.
guy to be around. He was teaching me some great things, and I tried to suck up all the information I could off of him. But the cutter is just standard. Now all the seams are inside of it, and then I just tilt that ball a little bit. It's not too much across the seams, and then I just try to think out front and let that thing go. And so it's probably 90 miles an hour usually. Just try to get it in there. It's usually to my lefty hitters. Try to get them up and in. Try to make a bite, and then off of that, I got a changeup. I got a circle changeup. I just throw it like a four seam changeup. It's straight up over the laces, and then my thumb is like my guider. I kind of tuck my thumb a little bit underneath that seam to make it try to drop. I try to get that 330 release in the terms of TrackMan, just all the data. Try to get that 330 release out front, and so it just stays up and then drops off real quick. And then I got my slider. I've been flipping around this slider a lot. I've had several different grips, but this is the grip right now. It's just underneath that lace on that horseshoe. And so I just come across almost like a slider, but it's a little further down on that grip. And so all I'm feeling is this little pressure. And all I'm trying to do is trying to get around that ball and try to flip it out in front of myself. And I'm thinking fastball the entire time and let it go and see where it goes.
Yeah, I love it. And so you've kind of talked about different mentalities, and you brought up TrackMan a little bit. I'm glad you did, because with being in professional ball now, you guys have access to different technologies like TrackMan. And is that something that you have really focused on as far as spin rate? I know guys, guys with those four seams are starting to tuck the thumb a little bit. I know guys are doing different things to affect their spin rate one way or the other. Whether it's pulling down hard on their curveball. Is that something that the organization focuses on, or is that something you focus on as well?
Yeah, it's kind of both. You got to keep your numbers up. You got to keep your numbers what you were brought here to do. And so my numbers, what I brought here to do was get that vert on my fastball. I'm looking for 21 to 24 inches of vert. If I can do that successfully, I'm gonna be doing my game, and which is beating hitters up in the zone. And then, on the other side of it, coaches are also looking for that. But if at the same time, if you're not doing that, they're going to be wondering, what can we do to get you back to what you were doing? So every once in a while, you'll see a coach and a player come together, and they're like, what can we do to fix what's going on? If it's in the bad or if it's in the good, what are you doing so we can mark this down for next time? So.
And for guys who maybe younger, do you have any tips as far as starting from youth, going to middle school, high school, getting ready to go into college? How it's such a interesting world right now where it's a mixture of people say, hey, get off my lawn, you don't need to worry about numbers, and then guys say, hey, worry about every single statistic. What have you found kind of helps you? In as far as do you find a happy medium? Do you feel like you're 80% this, or what's kind of the mentality for you?
Yeah, baseball has come to a weird little circle, I guess, of numbers are king, which is really odd to me. Which baseball was always a field game, and now it's a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
And to those younger guys, I would say, don't worry about the numbers until you're in college. College is really when it matters. And if you're that 1% of a high schooler, like not all of us are, then you can worry about numbers in high school. But it's mainly college where people get out and seen. So I worry less right now if you're young. If you're 12 years old, don't even look at numbers. If you're 15 years old, okay, maybe once in a while if you're velo checking, sure. But don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Just do your game, play your game, put up numbers, and don't even see it. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Baseball has always been a feel for me, and I know going to college, then it's or high school, end of high school, being college, then it was started to come like, wow, there are so many biometrics and numbers that go into it, and trying to understand that was huge. So another thing that I've heard a lot in starting to do these segments in baseball is how did you come up with your pitch repertoire? Was it always a comfort fastball change slider? Is that something that, oh, hey, these work really well and tunnel off each other well? Or how did that come about? Did you have more? Did you experience some? What advice would you give to finding that pitch arsenal that worked best for you?
Yeah, it's all a feel again. You have to be comfortable with throwing with your pitches, and it ultimately has to suit your arm slot sometimes, because if lower three quarters or submarine guys, I mean, you're not going to be able to get a ride fastball, plain and simple.
Yeah.
So you got to go with the sink, cut, slide, change up. You got to go with your arm slot most of the time. And then at the same time, if you're throwing a pitch and it hurts, bang it. Don't throw it if it hurts. Be smart about yourself. Have some common sense.
Yeah, that's what it all comes down to. I feel like it just it's all about having that feel. So yeah, we kind of agree on that. It's interesting because
Yeah.
like we have just I mean for me I was a 5 pitch mix guy. I didn't have
Yeah.
I never had the issue of touching 99. I never had it. Just personally, I never had that. So for me, I was a 5 pitch mix guy. So we're a little different. A little different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's awesome. It's so cool to see your story, to understand, and something that I definitely want to touch on as well is just you've kind of hit on it already. Is you're a man of faith. You've talked about even off camera. We've talked about through hardships, through the good times, through the bad times. So kind of walk me through that and where that kind of has seemed to be your backbone in many instances.
Yeah, baseball is a weird sport, and you think that everything you're doing is for yourself. It's not. It's for God, and everything that I've done has been God's gift to me. And I attribute my entire career to God. It's been a God thing. Every place I've moved, every time I've gotten cut or released, God always shows His door for me to go into, and it's a huge backbone for me because if you're not a baseball player, then who are you? And I put my faith in God, and so I am a faith-based person who looks to God for answers, not other humans. And so that's just kind of my background and my knowledge of it. And you know, if people are struggling, I'll say, hey, like, what are you doing outside of baseball? Who are you outside of this sport? And so it usually triggers a conversation one way or the other, and I love talking about it. I'm not there to press you on it. I just want to know where you are and who you are, and so it's just kind of a great experience to see other people and where they are in their life.
Man, that's awesome, man. And that's some real stuff too. That I had to touch on. I know,
Yeah.
just in many conversations with you, from years before to now, I've always noticed that that's been the backbone, the structure of how you do things, So I love that you touched on that. And so I got a few just rapid fire questions. It's gonna be all
Yeah.
over. It's gonna be a bunch of random ones. So we're gonna hit those real quick, and then I don't want to take too much of your time, so we'll send you on your way. But
All right.
okay, so let's start. You're in the locker room. You got to, it's pregame, and how are you? What music? What either artists or songs are you playing to get you going?
Oh man, there's that country um, playlist I got that goes hard every time. Then you gotta mix a few 80s songs in there. I'm a big 80s, 70s, 80s listener, so
Okay.
that's my usually go-to.
Okay. So now let's move the music from the locker room into the car. You're in a car full of people, right? You have your guys around you. You guys are just, going out to eat. You're on aux. What songs are you playing?
You got to go back to 2010 alternative rock. You got to go back to those days
Okay.
because
Okay.
everybody can usually get along with those. That's kind of an easy one to go.
That's a fair answer. But now let's get a little bit. Let's get a little bit deeper. So now you're in the car. Nobody's in the car. There's no judgment. You can play whatever you want. What songs or artists are you playing?
Man, I'm still just a big 80s person at heart, so I'll go straight back to 80s by myself. I'll just kind of jam. There's a few girly songs and there's like Blondie or something else in there. I'll jam out to that. It's got to be.
Okay, so now we're gonna get off music. Let's talk about baseball a little bit. What baseball rule would you have changed? Either remove it or would you add a new one in?
Oh man, a pitch clock. I hate it. It's it speeds up the game, yes. However, it hurts the pitcher a lot. It's not so much of a tactical mind game anymore. It's like rapid fire game, and so I don't like that as much. Um, and and maybe the I don't know, maybe the Buster Posey rule. I kind of liked a little bit of a collision at the home plate because I was a catcher. I liked
Interesting.
it.
Okay.
I liked getting run over, or I like trying to truck people personally. But I understand. There's injuries. I understand it. It
Yeah, it's important to note, everyone, that Morris Austin was a catcher through and through high school. So he's not just saying as a pitcher, oh yeah, hit
hit my
these
guy.
catchers.
Yeah,
Hey,
no.
just hit the catcher. Let's have collision. No, this guy lived through it. He was a catcher. He understands the physical part of being a catcher. So I just want to throw that out there before anybody was like, oh, this guy wants collisions with
I got a
these
scar.
random catchers.
I got
Yeah.
battle
Oh, you got
scars. I got cleated in a game in high school.
really like
Yeah.
you got cleat in the face.
Oh,
Okay, we
oh
can't.
yeah.
So how did that come about? How did the cleat end up towards the eyebrow?
Dude, I dove towards him. He ran head first into home plate. I dove towards him. That was a stupid mistake on my half. I should have just sat on the plate, and sure enough, his cleat comes right into my face after I tagged him, and rest is history. Had to get some some stitches on it, but it's all right. It's all right now.
Shoot. Okay. Did you
But
get him
see,
out?
life lesson. Yeah, I got him out. Life lesson.
Okay.
Never go after
So
a base runner. Just sit on the
yeah,
bag.
yeah. But at least you got him out. You did get him
Got
out.
him out.
So At least it was somewhat worth it, maybe, possibly. Story to tell.
My mom would prove otherwise, but
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe not for mom. Maybe not for mom.
scared her a bit.
So let's get away from the locker room, get away from baseball.
Hmm.
Morris, you're in the off season. Either you're back home or you're abroad. What's a hobby? What are we getting into? You got a free day. Where are we going?
Oh man. If my wife is not home, it's video games. But if my wife's home, it's hanging out with her. It's just doing stuff with her, just date nights, or even just hanging around trying to pick up our house or our life or whatnot. And you know, it's been fun to be married. It's been my greatest honor to be married to her. And so it's life is different now in my mind. It's not just go out every night, it's I'm chill. I've always been a chill guy. So just trying to be even more chill, I guess.
Yeah, Morris Austin, chill guy, chill guy.
Chill guy. Cool.
So let's talk about the video games. What video game is that wife maybe pulling you away from a little bit? What video game are we missing out on? What's the go-to?
Oh man, she would say all of them, but it would be it would be Call of Duty or
Okay.
I mean little MLB in there too. You got your own card if you're in the minor leagues, and so you get your real 99 or whatever. So I got my own self in the game, so that was kind of cool to have, just a little.
Gotta puff your chest a little bit when you say that, right? I mean, that's gotta feel pretty good to see your own self in a video game.
Yeah, it's a dream come true for sure. I've been growing up playing those games, and so it's cool to see myself there.
And so on the game, have you played as your version of yourself? Did you enter the game? Have you got how to play around a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to run it up to 102 or something with yourself.
Yeah, the game settings are getting put up all the way to the top. I mean, they have to, right?
Exactly.
I can't.
The sliders all the way there.
Can't blame you. You can't blame you. All right, Morrison. Well, I really appreciate your time. That was such good insight on anything. But before you go, this is something I've always done. So, I just need a fun fact from you that many people, if not anybody, doesn't know. Is there a little fun fact about you that you can share before we head out?
Ooh, I don't know. Man, maybe I've been in 40 states or something like that. I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
Been in
Okay.
a lot of states. Been in a lot of states. Been traveling,
Traveling
ball.
man.
Just been around.
Okay. Well, okay? Sorry. Well, follow-up question. What state are we missing? What state is the next one that's common on your list that you want to go
Man.
to?
I mean, we haven't been to like Alaska or I haven't been to North Dakota for whatever reason. Haven't been over there.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
Gosh, some of the north too. Like, I don't think I've been to Connecticut. It's so small.
Really? Okay.
I've
Yeah.
been over there.
Yeah. Being from Texas, that's so far away, so it's not one
Yeah.
that just easily. Okay, that's good.
But
I
all the
love
other
it.
states, I'm all the entire South and a little bit of the Midwest, I guess.
Other
Been
than
all over the
Texas,
place.
do you have a favorite other than Texas?
Oh
Well,
man,
Texas, I'm assuming, is your
Texas
favorite,
is the
right?
best. Texas is the
I
best.
mean,
That's where my heart resides.
okay, you cannot argue with that. Cannot argue with that.
Oh,
Morris, thank you so much for your time. I
yeah,
really
thank you,
appreciate it. That was
Nico.
really good insight. That was a lot of fun, man. I got to enjoy it, and there was no technical issues at all
None whatsoever. Haven't been
none
here
at
for
all.
2 hours.
No, nothing like that. So Morris Austin, the catcher, pitcher, family man, troubleshooter, technology man, got it all figured out. Not a problem at all. But Morris, thank you again for your time. Super excited to see your journey, and hopefully we do this again. Maybe after spring
Yeah,
training or mid-season, after season, just talk about the journey and get to hear from you a little more, man. I really appreciate your time.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Of course, and that's going to do it for this episode of Sharp Segments. It's been your host, Nico Sharp, alongside my buddy, Morris Austin. Super excited to see what you got next. Be sure to subscribe, like this video, comment, and see, because there's a little bit of learning. Morris Austin got to teach us a lot. Super excited. And don't worry, guys, the next video will be coming out very soon.